So for the last couple Snare Saturday videos, I've been showing you a 6.5 by 14 Ludwig Black Beauty snare drum that's going to be put into one of my schools. And when I released the video on the 5 top metal species snare drums you need in your collection, a lot of you were questioning why the Black Beauty didn't make it to #1, and some of you were mentioning it's because of the depth of the shell. So with this Snare Saturday video, it's time to see if depth really does make a difference when it comes to the Black Beauty snare drum. Yo, what's going on everybody? Nick Costa here, and in this video, it's time to ask the question, does depth really affect the sound of a Black Beauty snare drum? Now, even though both drums are Black Beauties made by Ludwig, they are coming from different eras. But either way, this video should allow you to hear the differences between the two different depths of shells to see if they really do sound different from one another. Now, before we dive into this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification. That way you're notified of any additional content that I upload to the channel. So before we dive into this video, there is one thing that I want to identify, which is a thank you to everyone who brought it to my attention. This 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty that I have been showcasing in these past few videos, I was under the impression that it was a brass shell. However, a lot of you have identified that when Ludwig reintroduced the Black Beauty in the late 80s, it was actually a bronze shell. I always believed that if a B was stamped on the shell that it was brass, and that if it was BR, then it was bronze. But it turns out with this, if it was stamped B, it's a bronze shell. So thank you to everybody who did bring that to my attention, because again, the last thing I want to do is misinform anybody. And if that is the case, that means that this 6.5 by 14 is a seamless bronze shell that is black nickel plated, and the 8 by 14 Black Beauty, which is a modern day Black Beauty, as a matter of fact, I got this drum in 2017, is a seamless brass shell that is black nickel plated. So let's go ahead and talk about the specs of both drums just a little bit further. Like I just mentioned, we have a 6.5 by 14 and an 8 by 14 Black Beauty, and that is depth by diameter. Now with the 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty, due to the era when this drum was made, it seems that it is a bronze shell that is black nickel plated. It is outfitted with 10 imperial lugs, triple flange hoops on the top and the bottom, and I upgraded this drum to have a Ludwig P88 AC throw-off. For heads, I have a Remo CS stock coated on the top and an Ambassador snare side on the bottom. Finally, the generic Ludwig snare wires are on this drum. Now let's talk about the 8 by 14. This is the one that was introduced in 2017. So it is a first generation 8 by 14 Black Beauty. It is a 1.2 millimeter seamless brass shell that is black nickel plated. It has 10 imperial lugs, triple flange hoops on the top and the bottom, Ludwig's first iteration of the P88 throw-off, and this drum is equipped with a set of Vic Firth vintage snappy wires that have been made by Canopus. Finally, this drum is outfitted with a Remo CS dot coated on the top and an Ambassador snare side on the bottom. So just like every other Snare Saturday video, I'm gonna play both drums through a few different tunings. I'm gonna start out in a low tuning and work my way up to a higher tuning. Now, as I am in between each tuning, I will switch from one drum to the next. That way you can hear the differences between them. Now, the 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty does have an internal puck dampener, but the 8 by 14 Black Beauty does not. So throughout this video, both drums are gonna be as wide open as possible with the current head selection that is on them. So, enough of me talking, let's dive into playing. And there you have it, a 6.5 by 14 Black Beauty and an 8 by 14 Black Beauty back to back, so you can hear the differences between them. Now, being that the shells are made out of different alloys, that is going to give a subtle difference between the two. Also, the 8 by 14 Black Beauty does have the rubber gaskets behind the lugs, whereas like the older Ludwig drums, the 6.5 by 14 does not. Some folks say that this helps the drum open up a little bit more, so that is one thing to keep in mind. But either way, I think it's safe to say that both drums sound pretty great. And I would love to get your feedback and what you think of each drum, so make sure that you leave it in the comment section below, letting me know. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see the videos where I am showcasing each drum individually, I put links to those videos in the description below. I also put a link to the Snare Saturday playlist so you can see every drum that has been a part of this Snare Saturday series. To make it a little bit easier, I'll also have it come up right here for you. Now, if you have any additional questions on either drum, maybe the gear that I am playing, how I tuned each drum, or anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comment section as well, and I will try my best to answer them. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you give it a thumbs up. That way it makes it a little bit easier for others to find it. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this video on Does Depth Really Affect the Sound of a Black Beauty Snare Drum? And until next time, see you later.